Mark, can I get your take? Of course, we're talking about Christian and Billy in the context of Canelo, who's taking on Terence Crawford for the undisputed. What's your breakdown of that fight?
It's a tough fight to predict. I believe at the end of the day, the big guy will win. But it's hard for me to go against Crawford. He's so good. He's probably the best pounds for pounds. But now he play in a division a little bit too big, I believe, for him. To me, it's a little bit the same thing when Canelo go against Bivol, and it's not because he's less good or talented than Bivol that he lost that fight. At one point, the punch and everything was not the same effect that he have at other division, and I believe there is a limit that what you can do as a human being and push to those category. And I think because Canelo is also a very gifted guy. He's not only physically very strong, he's gifted and he's talented, a good talent. And I believe at the end of the day he's going to win, but it's going to be a very close and tough fight, of course.
Can Terence Crawford take anything, particularly from the two game plans that have beaten him, the one from Mayweather and specifically from Bivol? Do you think he can replicate those two styles in any way?
As a trainer, we always try to take the blueprint who was done before and try to. Sometimes you copy, but sometimes you just take some little information about those loss, and there is a reason why he lost. And this is not something irrelevant. This is something very important. I really believe he's going to study those defeat and bring something to the table with this, of course.
A lot of people kind of talk about how Canelo isn't as great as he once was. Do you measure him that way as well? What's the difference between him from a couple of years back or so?
Of course, a little bit. Like nobody can win against the age. That's a universal rule for all fighter. But at the end of the day, even if he's not at his peak anymore, he's still physically strong. He's still a gifted fighter. He's still at top of the industry, and I believe he's good enough to deliver a good performance. Of course.
So, who is your official prediction?
I believe maybe a split decision for Canelo, but it will be close.
Was there any conversation surrounding Canelo and Arthur?
Back in the days, we have a little bit of talk, but that was very superficial, and we had the feeling that maybe not Canelo, because Canelo is a fighter, and he probably want to fight everybody. But we have the feeling that the team around him don't really want that fight, and we can understand, because this is a little bit the same situation. You go against a guy who is going to be very offensive with you, like the style of Canelo, and way more big and stronger. And that was, to be honest, Arthur was the wrong style for Canelo, I believe, and that's a fight that we always want. But at the end of the day, there is no real interest from Team Canelo.
Would you put the winner of Canelo versus Crawford as your pound for pound number one?
Can you repeat, please?
Would you put the winner of Canelo versus Terence Crawford as your pound for pound number one?
Probably. I believe in a way is the pounds for pounds, but the two other names are right there. Listen, we can argue about 1, 2, and 3, of course. Yes.
And in terms of Terence Crawford and him against Canelo, do you think he'd get? We talked about obviously Canelo not being maybe as good as he once was. Do you believe he'll get the credit for beating Canelo?
I think so. Listen, he's a big star. He's a big name. He's moving category. I think he will deserve. If you do that job, he will definitely deserve that credit. And I hope people will give to him.
Just lastly, as well, when you've got your fighter is the smaller fighter and doesn't have the power advantage against the opponent, how do you counteract that? What would you do what would your advice be to your fighter?
But there is a lot of point, and if you look in the boxing history, you will find some blueprint against of those fights. The first fight who came in mind is Sugar Ray Leonard with Hagler. Like I remember, like all the negotiation about the ring size and the glove size, and there is all those little aspects from outside of the fight that you can already take care at the beginning of the negotiation, and after that, the fight himself, the technique that you're going to use. Of course, if they're fighting in a medium or a small ring, or they're fighting on a 20 by 20 feet ring, will be a huge difference. But you have to build the proper tactic to make sure that you don't fight the fight of the other one, of course.
That's an interesting thought. If it's a smaller ring, who are you favoring? If it's a bigger ring, who are you favoring?
Of course, if it's a bigger ring, I still favor Canelo because you have the habitude to fight of those ring. Like this is almost all the time 20-by-20 that we use in professional boxing for those kind of fight. If a smaller ring, definitely advantage Canelo, no doubt.